All right. Whoa, whoa, hot mic. Turn that down a little bit. Whoa, looks like it's hot. Hot mic. Hot mic going on here. Oh, jeez. What the heck? Yeah, please hold. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. It's still a little hot. Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, testing. Well, hopefully that's okay. Hopefully that's okay. Yeah, it looks better. Wow, I don't know why the mic is so hot today. I don't know. Is it coming through through loud and clear, or too loud, or not loud enough, or I don't know. Somebody help me in the chat. Help me out. Better. Okay. Was it coming through pretty hot before? Yeah. Oh, lots of fan noise. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That. Yeah. The mic was way too hot before. So let me. I'm gonna keep turning it down a little bit. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why it's so brutal. Anyway. Yeah. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the stream. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's a very rainy Saturday morning for us in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we could use it. It was looking a little parched soil out there. But oh, you still hear it? No, I still hear the background noise. Okay, weird. Well, it's probably from my computer. Weird. Let me see if I can maybe. Let's see what. Please hold while I troubleshoot this. Sorry. It's hard because you can't really test this. Let's see here. All right. Input. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Let me see. That's probably maybe a little better. Let's see here. Hopefully that's better. Is that better? Otherwise, I might have to do some shenanigans here to fix this. But yeah, I think it switched my mic to my my camera here when it's supposed to be using the fancy mic. That's when it's supposed to be using the fancy mic. Okay. Good morning, Rach. How's it going? Are you still hearing the fan noise? Hopefully not. Oh no, I can actually see. Okay, yeah, I still see it. I see it getting picked up. Sorry, y'all. Trying to figure out how to fix the streaming here. It's not picking up my my audio device. Yeah. For some reason, it's using the camera mic instead of my mic. So it's a bummer. It's never done this before. So it's a little frustrating. I don't know why it changed. Input. Okay. Yeah, I can see it getting picked up. Okay. See if maybe I can fix this here. Desktop audio device 1. Let's see. This. Audio monitoring device. auxiliary device. There we go. I think I fixed it. Hang on. Turning up the gain a little bit. There we go. Okay. That's probably better, right? Hopefully that's better. I don't see the fan coming through anymore. Okay, sounds good. Okay, sounds better. All right, cool. All right, so sorry about that. I thought I was being all fancy. I don't know if y'all joined a little earlier, but I had like hold music going. I found some like no no royalty audio action. Thought I'd try that this time, but anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Like I was saying, Saturday morning, kind of rainy here in the DFW area, but that's okay. The unfortunate thing, I'm saying unfortunate, is that kids' soccer game rained out today. So I have, we, the family, have the whole day to kind of chill. We do have a Halloween party tonight by our friends. So uh, that's, I should have a better time this year than I think I did last time. It's not their fault, it's my fault. I went to the Halloween party and I was dieting at the time. So they had like pizza and nachos with cheese, which I will be eating nachos with the cheese that comes out of the thing. Like I'm totally having some of that, not too much, but I'm gonna pull my fat back today and save some for that action. But yeah, people, it's like they had cookies. It all looked so good, and I was dieting at the time, so I really couldn't partake. But I'm definitely gonna have some party nachos tonight for sure. In fact, just thinking about it right now makes me want to eat nachos right now. But yeah, should be fun. So, hope everybody's doing well. So today, what I thought we would do, like I said last time, instead of these being kind of like total just verbal vomit for me, like brain vomit, me just streaming my consciousness out through a microphone to y'all, I thought I might pick a topic and try that out. So, uh, everybody knows I like experiments. Everybody knows I like data. I like pushing the boundaries. I like testing things, seeing what happens. I like figuring things out. And one of the things that I've been working on, I've talked about it before, is my sleep. I'm trying to kind of figure out the problem with my sleep. And currently, the problem with my sleep is because sleep. No, let me back up a minute. Sleep, basically, a lot of our lives revolve around sleep. It's how we heal our bodies. It's how we heal our minds. It's how we there's even stamp them so that they are less traumatic to us. I mean, it helps us concentrate at our jobs. It makes our mood better. It just controls pretty much everything about your life as far as well-being goes. So getting sleep dialed in is really something that I've been seeking for a long time. I felt like I had it going pretty good, and then I did the low body fat thing, and that kind of crushed my sleep. And that pattern is kind of continuing through now. I wouldn't say my sleep is totally broken. It was broken quite badly during the latter half of the cut I did, but I would say my sleep is not optimized. What do I mean by that? So I can fall asleep just fine. I wake up, every once in a while to use the bathroom, or the dogs wake me up. They need to go out, something like that. But my biggest issue that I've been trying to fix is why I wake up about 6 to 6.5 hours into my sleep. I wake up and I can't go back to sleep. I'm totally awake, and it feels like my body is saying 6 hours is good, but I don't think 6 hours is good. Everybody says we should get 7 to 8 hours, and I traditionally, historically, I've slept between 7 and 8 hours. So I know like something is off, and so I've been on this quest to kind of figure out how to fix this. And I've introduced some new things, like an 8 sleep mattress cover a system. I bought that. That's helped with a lot of the night sweating that I had. Oh, Mike is cutting out. Okay. It might be the stream. We did have an internet outage this morning too, so that might be what's going on here. Let's see. I'm just checking my stream. But yeah, hopefully that's coming through okay. Yeah, I think it's a streaming thing because it's not cutting out on my audio monitor here. But yeah, so the biggest thing I'm trying to kind of figure out is why am I waking up in the middle of the night? And I've done things to try to help with that. I've done things like I bought that 8 sleep system, reducing the noise, cutting down screens before bed, trying to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, all those things. And I feel like I've made good progress as far as the consistency of when I go to sleep and but waking up is still a challenge. I still wake up at, I go to sleep about 9:30-ish, and I wake up at like 5. And while that seems like 7.5 hours of sleep, it's not. It's time of sleep and getting up in the night and going back to sleep. And, Loki, my cat, wanting to, he like sucks on this empty bottle. Like he's done it ever since he was a kitten. It's very strange. But anyway, he wants me to give him that in the night. So he wakes me up. And so there's some disturbances, but it comes out to be about 6 to 6.5 hours of time asleep. So I've been trying to figure out how do I stretch that just like 30 minutes, like just get it to the 7.5 hour range. And so far I've been unsuccessful. So the latest thing that I've done is I've cut out caffeine. And, caffeine is one of those things. I don't think it's a terrible thing, but it's easy to take it in kind of willy-nilly, if you will. And I was definitely kind of afraid that I was taking in too much caffeine, especially when I was on my weight loss, because that's how I controlled my weight. That's how I killed my appetite when I was overly hungry. It would take my mind kind of off food. So I used caffeine pretty heavily during my cut, to the point to where, I was using a lot of stimulants to basically push myself in my exercising, and then also to keep alertness so I can actually function in my job. So lots of caffeine. And I think that did definitely have an impact on my sleep. But usually that's a problem going to sleep. I've impacted going to sleep before, but it can also impact the quality of your sleep as well. So I did a little bit of digging into this, and I tried to kind of figure out, okay, if somebody wanted to resensitize themselves to caffeine, like, is there a way to, or basically, in other words, is there a way to kind of reset the baseline so that I can kind of start over and only take in as much caffeine as can be beneficial to my training, my concentration at work, but also not impact my sleep? So that was kind of the goal of this experiment. So let's take a look at, so first we kind of need to figure out, what is sleep? How does it work? That kind of thing. And so there's first thing I'll kind of point out is, there's this awesome podcast. If you really want to know, like, how sleep works, you should go check out that podcast that I put in the chat. I'll also put it I'll add it to the description too of the chat. But basically it is, this guy right here, Dr. Dean St. Mart. This episode is like 5 years old now, but I watched this with Jennifer, my wife, and I felt like it was probably the best explanation chemically that I've ever seen when it comes to what's happening in your sleep cycles and the chemicals that are involved and how that works. So super impressive. I'm very impressed with this guy, Dr. Dean St. Mart. He's kind of all over the internet. He's known well for his mitochondrial stack, which I'm actually using, and I feel like it's made a big difference in my energy levels, my body composition, etc. It really helped me during my cut.
I found it kind of late in my cut, so I didn't get to do it all through my cut, but towards the end, it was pretty cool. Um, Andrew Huberman. So if we go to YouTube, the other guy that I would say, as far as like understanding circadian rhythm, how light affects, um, how light affects our sleep. This guy is probably, um, he to me is probably one of the best when it comes to explaining that. So I'll kind of share that. So the thing I learned from him was, it's not really, I'll just say like learning about sleep. I'll put that in the chat there. Um, so the thing I learned from him is basically the pieces or the components of our eyes that actually control like how we perceive the time of day and the circadian rhythm and how that works. I thought that was a really, really good episode. I'm pretty sure that's the one I linked there, but he's got a bunch of ones on here. I would listen to them all. I think they're really, really good. Um, how to improve your sleep, how to, perfect your sleep. There's some that I haven't seen and I probably need to. Um, like some of these look pretty interesting. I'll probably go check those out. But they're about an hour and a half. Sometimes they're a little longer. This one's like 3 hours, so that's pretty intense. But you can listen to them like at 1.5 speed. Um, the other thing, so I started to kind of look into, how this works, right? What is the deal with caffeine and sleep? And kind of what I found was I felt like this article here probably covered from a fitness perspective covered the most comprehensive discussion about how caffeine affects sleep and how it affects performance in the gym, etc. Because I can definitely tell when I take large doses of caffeine, i.e., 200 mgs to 250 milligrams mgs of caffeine. I am very focused. I can usually push harder and and get through a lot more challenging training. But yeah, so basically this. Let's see if I can zoom in here. There we go. So this is kind of how it works. So you've got these things in your cells, or in your brain nerves, right? Your nerves are made of cells. These cells have these receptors, and these receptors, uh, basically, what happens during the day as the day goes on, this stuff called adenosine, basically starts building up in these receptors, in these cells. And so as the day goes on, more of these adenosine chemicals, or molecules, I'm not sure how you describe them, but they basically build up on your receptors, and so you get more. So you build up like this fatigue over the day, and then that's what finally you hit a threshold, and that pushes you into sort of a sleep threshold. Um, and so what caffeine does is caffeine actually is what's called an antagonist. And this is what people believe, right, that to be the case is essentially with caffeine attaches to these receptors and blocks or antagonizes the adenosine from being able to bind in. So essentially, like think of it as like a parking lot, and caffeine is taking up all the different parking spots, and the adenosine can't park, so you don't build up fatigue, and therefore it. And so that's what a lot of people notice first with caffeine is that they have problems going to sleep or falling asleep when they consume too much caffeine during the day, or perhaps or too much caffeine close to bedtime. And I've had this before. I think I had I did one talk early on. One of the live episodes, I talked about drinking a pre-workout around 4 p.m. that had 250 mgs of caffeine in it, and I had a heck of a time going to sleep that night. Which is interesting because I, I I have been long, not I wouldn't say an abuser of caffeine, but I usually had a long, steady, all day into the night consumption of caffeine. I would say I had. So I love Pepsi Max. It's now called Pepsi Zero Sugar. I think it's the black can. I love that stuff. It is my favorite drink of all time. and unfortunately my kids like it now too. And the reason I liked it was because it just kind of gave me a little bit more than just a normal like Diet Pepsi or a Diet Coke or whatever. And that's because it's got ginseng plus caffeine in it. So it's got a little bit more caffeine in it, I think, than normal soda, but it also has ginseng. And it cuts both ways. You know, it helped me kind of feel better. Oh, oh, good. Yeah, cat's in the cat box. That's awesome. Uh, it kind of helped me focus better. It gave me more energy. It made me more alert. The bad news about that is that I noticed that if I didn't drink Pepsi Zero Sugar specifically, I would have a lot of fatigue. But I would drink that stuff. I would drink a 2 liter a day, probably more. In my prime, in my permanent bulking stage, as I call it. Um, I would drink about 2 liter a day at least, and because that's all I drink. I wouldn't drink water. I would just mainly drink Pepsi, and it's a diet soda, so it negative, or it had marginal calorie impact. It was mainly all the other foods I was eating that was making me fat. But anyway, I loved that drink, and I would drink the crap out of it. I would drink that all the way up till bedtime. Like I'd be sipping on it before I went to sleep. So, I mean, I was definitely a Pepsi junkie when it came to that. And then take that with I tapered off that, but I drink tea now. I drink coffee too. I was drinking a lot of coffee whenever I was on the cut, so I've taken in a lot of caffeine. So I wanted to figure out, okay, if I wanted to restart, like if I wanted to resensitize, I heard about these people doing these resensitizations to caffeine. Like, how would I do that? And so I busted out my friend, good old friend, ChatGPT, and I asked it to kind of help me figure out if I've got a caffeine problem, essentially. And first it started out kind of telling me about, it started to kind of tell me about, yeah, Matt, yeah. And what's funny is, Matt probably remembers, like, well, I know one of my other friends, Tanner, would remember. I was like, it's hard to find in Seattle, area, in the Seattle area. It's kind of tough to find it, or it used to be at the time. Like this was probably circa 10 years ago. That's how long I've been drinking that stuff. So I basically found it in this grocery store, and it was in a 2 liter, and I walked around the city all day with a 2 liter, like, of Pepsi, and everybody's like, "Is that your baby?" Because I'm like carrying it around, like it's like, because it was so. I was having problems, like I was falling asleep during training, and so we were up there for 2 weeks doing kind of a training thing at Microsoft, and it was like a 2 week long thing, and I hadn't had Pepsi in a couple days, Pepsi Max a couple days, and I was struggling. So anyway, I found some. I walked around with it, but yeah, and it's funny because in other countries, especially like Israel, which Matt and I both have partaken in Israel. Oh, the cat's trying to. Okay, I might have a disconnect here while he's freaking out. Sorry, he almost just knocked over my camera, my light, and everything else, panicking, trying to get to the window. So sorry about that. But anyway, in Israel, they had it like on tap. They had it in the coolers in the offices. It was pretty awesome. Like I got my fill of Pepsi Max. They would have the liter bottles of them, which was fantastic. So I had a really good time. But anyway, I was a junkie on that stuff. So, I wanted to kind of understand what's it going to take to reset. And basically, I did a little more research. I asked ChatGPT, but I also did my own research, and it seemed to line up. It looks like you have to basically stop all caffeine for 10 to 14 days to do a full reset. And essentially that allows your receptors to kind of flush out all the caffeine that's attached to them. I've even read where the more you upregulate your caffeine, you get more adenosine receptors. So like, because it's basically, I think it's your body trying to say, okay, well, caffeine's attaching to all these. I need to make more so this dude can go to sleep, right? So it starts creating more of these receptors, but that's not an infinite process. I can't imagine that would happen indefinitely, or there's got to be a falling off point. So it came up with essentially a plan for me to cut out caffeine for 2 weeks. And I would say that I did not take 2 to 3 weeks to reduce intake. I did it over a week. Um, and I'm now in the full reset. So I'm 5 days into my full reset, and it's had some interesting impact on me. Traditionally, you would hear, okay, you get a headache usually, and then you're okay. For me, it's had some really interesting things. I can't say that it's all contributed to caffeine because I am on a lot of experimental crap, right? Like I'm on some peptides, I'm on Retatrutide. So, I'm on certain anabolic androgenic steroids, or PEDs, if you will, performance enhancing drugs. So, I'm on growth hormones, so there's a lot going on with me. But I can definitely say that those things have kind of stayed. Yeah, yeah. I imagine. Yeah, I could just imagine it's like a cactus, like of like all these adenosine receptors everywhere. Anyway, but yeah, I'm a complex case, but I definitely saw like all those things have kind of stayed the same. And the only thing I dropped out was caffeine. And I'm noticing some pretty interesting things, which I'll talk about in a minute, but let's keep to the plan. So basically, like, I just asked her some questions. So first I wanted to say, okay, well, maybe let's see if I even have a problem. So I said, okay, this is what I'm drinking right now. I'm drinking usually 2 of the Keurig pods of Snickers Donut Shop coffee. I'll drink other types of coffee, but it's too, whatever. I drink about 4 cans of Pepsi a day, I estimate. I'm usually drinking it out of a 2 liter, so it's harder to think, but I usually drink probably about 3 glasses, so I figure that's about 4 cans of Pepsi a day. And then I drink about 3 decaf coffees a day. So that's one thing I did do post cut was that because I'm new to coffee, so I talked a little bit about this before, but I have never been a coffee person. But during my cut, I was taking in a lot of soda with a lot of caffeine. I was like, I'd like to get the caffeine in a little more naturally. So how can I do this? And so I was like, okay, well, let's try coffee. Everybody's crazy about coffee. So I tried it. I didn't like it before, and I don't like it like black. I respect anybody who can just drink coffee straight up. I usually have to put a little Splenda and a little creamer in it to smooth out the bitterness, which is interesting because I can eat cocoa, and I think that's fine, like unprocessed cocoa, and that tastes okay to me. It's a little bitter, but coffee for some reason just has this strong taste to me. So anyway, I figured out how to like it. And so I tapered off soda, went more towards coffee. But the problem is I was drinking coffee in quantities that I was drinking soda before. So I was drinking like 4 or 5 cups a day. Like it got kind of out of control during the cut. So I started to incorporate some decaf, which has a trace of caffeine in it, but not as much as like normal. So I fed that in. I said, okay, well, how much caffeine am I usually taking? So this blew me away. Like I didn't realize like 1 K cup of coffee is about 120 mgs of caffeine. That's quite a bit. Pepsi Zero Sugar is about 69 mgs of caffeine. And then the decaf has about 2 mgs. So overall, I was taking in, and this isn't including my pre-workout. So on some days when I train earlier in the day, which is usually on the weekends, during the week, it's just too hard for me to train during the day with work and everything. So I train usually in the evenings. But I'll take a pre-workout that has 250 mgs of caffeine in it. So it's possible I was taking in like 770 milligrams of caffeine in some days, which is really high. I mean, I think they say like 2 mgs per pound of body weight is okay. Anything over that's excessive. So I was like, okay, yeah, sounds like I probably need to take a break. I need to maybe resensitize to it. So I was like, hey, I started to also think about, okay, well, maybe this is impacting my sleep cycles. Maybe this is what's breaking me out of my later stages of sleep and waking me up early. So I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. So it came out with this taper down approach, and it kind of talks about why it helps to kind of step down, and then also what a reset does to you, which I haven't. I'll go back and look at the data when it's all said and done, but it says deep sleep rebounds by 20 to 40% within 5 nights. I haven't seen a huge spike in deep sleep, but I've just hit 5. This is day 5, I think. Yeah, I started Monday, so technically today's day 5. So we'll see. We'll see if my deep sleep improves. I I don't suspect it will, just because I'm on growth hormone, so that helps with deep sleep anyway. But hey, I'll take it if it happens. Um, it also says, hey, your HRV should bounce back, that kind of thing. The bad thing is it says the first 3 to 4 days can suck, which I thought was funny. It used that language, but it says headaches, fatigues, low motivation. Definitely did not have any headaches, which is amazing to me because I used to have chronic headaches. So this was amazing that I wasn't getting like brutal headaches from this. But anyway, but I've definitely felt the fatigue, definitely felt the low motivation. I also had I've had some anxiety. My anxiety has been like going through the roof, and a bit of depression at the same time. At which I take medication for those things. I take a SSRI for that. So I was a little taken back by what happened around day 2 or 3. I started to kind of have that higher anxiety, which is interesting. But anyway, it came through like, okay, phase 1 taper, 7 to 10 days. So this is what I did. I basically cut it in half, and then it came out with this chart. Yeah, okay, here we go. So I basically just followed this chart. It was a 7-day wean off caffeine. So it was like, okay, on your first day, you can do this. And then the second day, and I did this. So I followed that to a T. And like I said, I didn't have any headaches at all, like coming off caffeine, and I have not had any headaches for 5 days. So I could call that a win. And then it gave me some ideas for things I can do to kind of help with some of the energy while I feel, while I'm recovering from the caffeine not being there. And yeah, I definitely felt a dopamine drop. Like I was not motivated to do stuff. And I've noticed caffeine, and I think this can be probably kind of dangerous, but caffeine in large amounts is very soothing to me. It's very euphoric to me. I like the person that I become when I'm on high amounts of caffeine. And that to me is very dangerous, right? Because, that could lead to possibly seeking other substances to do that, like methamphetamine or something like that. So I seem to have an affinity towards being caffeinated to the max. I'm more productive. My mood is better. My overall feeling about life is better. I'm usually kind of a broody dude, and that kind of eliminates all that. So I'm very sensitive to the fact that caffeine in large amounts makes me feel like I'm a better person, because that is usually, in my opinion, a habitual thing that would lead to abuse. And, what happens with abuse? Like, it's not enough. Then you find something else, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm very cognizant to the fact that I seem to be drawn to caffeine pretty strongly. So I talked about a couple of these things. I'm already taking cordyceps. This is in my methylene blue mushroom complex that I take in the morning. I've been using cordyceps for about 3 months now. I started it in my last month of my cut to kind of give me a little bit of pick me up. But I've done L-tyrosine, rhodiola, I think is how you say it. I've tried this. I can't really tell a difference with this. And then this talks about like stuff to help with your sleep, which I already do this. I already use magnesium bisglycinate. I use glycine. Ashwagandha or KSN 66. I do use this, but sparingly. Usually if I train close to bedtime, or if I've just had a really stressful day, or I'm just being an asshole, to be honest, I will take some ashwagandha KSN to kind of put me a little bit, put the animal to bed a little bit, and then like lots of hydration. And then this is what you expect. So that's what I'm kind of in. But yeah, I've definitely no headaches, but I have definitely noticed some depression, some anxiety. Sleep seems to be pretty much unchanged right now. Yeah, yeah, we said the same thing. I was like, man, I'm going to turn into a clicker, but yeah, what a great game and series. But anyway, I digress. Matt, you're bad for me, man. Like you're busting out my my attention problems here. Like I'm going to go on tangents even more than I. So yeah, you and I don't make a good team when it comes to Jake's focus, but I miss you, buddy. So So yeah, a lot of anxiety, a lot of some depression, some just like kind of anhedonia. Is that how you say that? Basically, like a carelessness, like whatever. And then that comes with the cat, and then that fires back to the anxiety, and then I've kind of been all over the place. It's been kind of frustrating, to be honest. Um, so there's that. Um, oh, I just noticed. Okay, sorry about that. I had an audio thing going on there. So yeah, so I did notice that. And so, one thing I was like, man, I kind of miss soda. This was like day 2. I was like, I just kind of miss soda. Like, can I just have like diet soda? And so I asked, hey, is caffeine free Diet Coke really caffeine free? And it is. And then, I started to wonder, like, I'm drinking decaf caffeine, like, or decaf coffee. Could that possibly, introduce some caffeine? And it's like, no, 1 to 4 mg per cup. So as long as you're not, drinking, 4 or 5 cups a day, which I'm not. I drink about 3 cups a day to kind of stay in this range here. So I'm getting trace amounts of caffeine, but apparently it's hopefully not enough to blow me off my rails here. And yeah, so here I started to kind of, oh yeah, sorry, I just outed myself here. But yeah, I started to kind of ask about, this was a couple days in. I was like, I'm kind of in a negative mood and like, not really feeling like a dude, so to speak. So I kind of had some things, that I was asking it about. But, all in all, I'm in day 5. I'm going to see this thing through. I'm going to go 14 days. Am I going to abstain totally from caffeine after that? No, I will definitely use caffeine because I think it does help my training. But I will be more cognizant, I think, of how I consume caffeine. In other words, don't just be sipping on a Pepsi Zero or whatever you call it, Pepsi Zero sugar all day. Don't use that, like, basically don't have a trickle of caffeine just kind of coming in. Use it strategically so that I can train better. So in my mind, that means, coffee first thing in the morning before my fasted cardio, and then perhaps a coffee or depending on the time of day I train, or a stimulant-based pre-workout. I'll do that. So we'll see how that. And then during the day, just kind of abstain, for the most part. So worst case scenario, in one day, I would get 350 mgs of caffeine, and so that translates roughly to my body weight. 2 mgs per pound of body weight. I'm about 170 pounds now. That's about 340 mgs. So I think that works out fine. So yeah, so that's where we're at. Has it helped my sleep? I don't know. It's still early, 5 days in. I'm still waking up early, but that could also be my body fat percentage. I'm not ruling that out either, because I'm still. If you're curious, you can go out to my YouTube page, and I posted a clip today. This is actually the first time I've ever posted, I think, a clip like this. It's a physique update. Essentially, I show off upper body physique now 10 weeks post DEXA scan. So I'm about 2.5 months after getting down to 7.1% body fat. I estimate I'm probably about 10% body fat now, which for me is still quite low. I think I was probably hovering normally, like when I was in my normal kind of not bulking, not cutting stages. I think I was probably staying around the 15 to 18% body fat range. So I'm still pretty low. And I'm not counting out the fact that could be what's still waking me up, basically telling me to get out there and hunt, So I'm slowly titrating up my calories, trying to make sure that I don't get too soft, because I have a plan for putting on muscle, and the more fat I put on, the shorter amount of time I have to put on that muscle before I have to transition back into a cut. So I'm really trying to be strategic about how much food I'm eating and how much body weight I'm putting on. I have noticed since I backed off caffeine, my weight is creeping up, which makes sense because it does have, I read that paper by Eric Trexler that talks about a possible metabolic effect, a lipolysis effect. So freeing fat, fats from, or getting fats into the bloodstream to be burned off by cardio or exercise. So it's possible that I am putting on a little more fat now that I'm off caffeine. So I'm cognizant of that. So, but the other thing that I've noticed, I don't know if this is related, but it's something I'm noting. I seem to not be recovering from my training as well. I also seem to be having more joint pain. I don't know, caffeine I think can blunt pain a bit. I think I read that it can kind of help you kind of work through pain a little bit. So I'm wondering if maybe that's what the deal is. Like maybe I'm always in this pain, but the caffeine kind of exposed it a little more, which I find fascinating. I need to do some more research into that. But overall, like this has been a pretty interesting experiment. My blood pressure is low. I think it's low. It's 110 over 65, and it stays 110 over 65 pretty much all day. I've kind of tested it morning, noon, and night, and it stays around there. 110 is a little low, but oh, interesting. Slow. Oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah. So, Matt, is that something? I keep hearing like people talk about like the 24andMe, and I think they went bankrupt, but I think they're still doing testing and stuff. But I heard like you can get that test through 24, or is that what it's called, 24andMe, or I might be screwing that name up. But I heard you could do the 24 thing and the full panel, and then you can feed that through some open source models to actually tell you like what genes you have and what you have affinity to in terms of disease and stuff. But let me know like how I can get that gene pulled, if it's that 24 test or if it's something else. Because I am very interested in that, and very interested in getting my raw data and putting it through some of those open source models to map out my my genes. Like I think that's pretty cool. Like I'd like to see if I'm predisposed to dementia, Alzheimer's. I'm pretty sure I am. But I would like to see things like the caffeine thing. I think that's fantastic. I didn't know that. So learning from Matt. I always learn from Matt. I told him that. I think I told you that like 5 years ago we talked. I was like, dude, every time we talk, man, I learned like 3 new things from you. Freaking genius, man. But anyway, love you, man. All right, so that's my rant on caffeine. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm actually taking the next 2 days off training. I took yesterday off. I'm going to take the 2 days off training. So that's going to be 3 days off the gym. And then next week I'm going to deload. So basically I'm going to do 50% of weight and then about, 4 reps in reserve. So very, very tame compared to what I'm used to. My shoulders just don't feel right. They feel real beat up. My back, from a muscle perspective, just was feeling really sore from my last workout. And I just, I don't know. I feel kind of beat up. So I feel like a deload is probably in the cards. Like a real good example is like I worked shoulders the other day, and where this lateral delt ties into your upper arm bone here, like this has been sore for 2 days post training, and I never get sore in my shoulders ever. Like I worked the crap out of my shoulders because yeah, I worked the crap out of my shoulder because my shoulders have always been kind of a crappy body part for me. Now I think it's probably one of my better body parts. So I put a lot of training into them, which means they get beat up pretty bad. So I worked them out the other night, and I didn't think I did a whole lot of volume, but they feel like I lifted more than I ever lifted before, volume wise. So something's definitely going on. I think my body's telling me I need a break, so I'm going to be taking a break this weekend, and then start back up on Monday with a next week will be a what's called a deload. So half the weight, 4 reps in reserve, and then we'll just kind of assess from there. And then by that time, when I come back from that, I'll be out of the caffeine break and be able to kind of assess what things are looking at. But overall, though, I feel okay. Like today I feel a lot better. I don't have the mental kind of impact from the caffeine stuff. So day 5, I definitely seem to be coming out of the funk. So let's hope that stays. But anyway, anybody have any questions? I didn't talk anything about like Retatrutide or anything. That's kind of all over the internet. The latest thing is like microdosing. There's a bunch of conflicting information about microdosing Retatrutide, which means different things to different people and nuance there, and just there's a lot of drama on the on the bodybuilding front. The Prague show, I think, is right now, bodybuilding show. So I need to go check that out. I think Terrence Ruffin is going to be in that. He's a guy that I watch pretty closely. So the Prague show should be pretty cool. I think Martin Fritzwater's in that, which I'm a fan of his. So I think Samson too. Yeah, Samson Dauda, who was the top Olympian in 2024, but he got, I think, fourth this year. So you'll be there. So that should be a banger of a show. So if you're into bodybuilding, check out the Prague show. Nick Strength and Power is the channel I watch for kind of the updates. I really like that Nick Strength and Power, and he also has a Pokemon channel, which is interesting. He does bodybuilding and he does Pokemon. So if you're into Pokemon, check out his Pokemon channel too. All right, questions. Any questions? Yeah. So if you go out and view my my physique update video, don't hate on me too bad. I think that's the first video I've ever posted of me with my shirt off. Like, I think that might be the first time ever. So I did not post that to Facebook. I feel like Facebook is like for the G and PG rated stuff, and then, you know, for the PG-13 shirt off stuff, I kind of feel like Instagram and YouTube is probably better suited for that. But cool. Yeah, thanks, Matt, for tuning in, bro. Have a good weekend, man. I'll talk to you. Good dude. Matt's a good dude. He and I have been friends for a long time. Cool. All right. I don't see any questions. Did I miss any questions? Okay. Well, we'll probably wrap up there then if nobody has any questions. You know, it's kind of funny. Like, week to week, we're adding one viewer or so. So this is that's kind of neat. But hopefully this is helping somebody out there. If not, it's a good chronicle for myself and maybe my kids when I'm gone. You know, they can maybe view this, as long as there's not AI doesn't kill us all and destroy everything in the world. Just kidding. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, cool. Well, I'll end it there. I hope everybody's doing really well. You know, I know there's a lot of stuff out there in the world that's negative. I tend to be a negative person, so, you know, just try to find something positive every day. I'm trying to be better about that. I'm trying to be more grateful. I talked a little bit about that last time, but keep up the great work, man. You know, I think the struggle that you have in the gym, or you know, every day that you get up, you get yourself out of bed, you pick yourself up after a loss or something like that, that's a win. You need to count that. So anyway, keep up the great work. I know you can do it, and I will see you in the next one. Talk to you later.